welcome back to Reading Through the Generations. It's Precious, and I thought in this week's video I could share all the 5-star reads that I have been fortunate enough to read so far this year. So what exactly do I mean by a 5-star read? Well, there are a lot of factors that go into that. First being the quality of the writing. When I usually know right from the start whether a book is going to be a 5-star read. I don't know why. It's just, I guess my intuition is in sync or something when I'm in a book. But I will often find myself rereading passages just because the beauty of the language is so striking. And I don't necessarily mean flowery language. For instance, take Kazuo Ishiguro. He has a very straightforward style of writing, but what he's saying, like the message that he's trying to convey in many of his novels, are so poignant and thought-provoking that my brain just goes, whoa, I need to take a break and reread this and really reflect on what the message I'm being told is. So that's the first factor. The quality of writing is superb. Another factor is it needs to be a captivating story, and I need to feel invested in the characters. And I don't necessarily mean it has to be a fast-paced book for it to capture my attention. I just need to feel like the story grips my attention in some way. And whenever I pick up the book, I anticipate picking it up, and I'm hesitant to even put it down. It's as if I feel compulsory to read and finish the book. And when I do pick it up, I need to feel as though I am in the character's shoes. I forget all about my worries and troubles for the time in which I am immersed in the novel. Another factor is how it ultimately made me feel. What emotions it evoked when I was on the journey with all the characters. Did it fill me with joy, longing, inspiration, or hope? Did it teach me something? You know, was it a new perspective that I never considered before or thought about before? Did it open my mind to new ideas and thoughts? Will it inform my own decisions that I choose to take in my own life? Things like that, like because I believe when you read a book, the characters are not the same characters in the beginning to when you finish the book. And I feel that's true also for the reader. You're not necessarily the same person at the end of a book when you started it. So those are some of the factors for 5-star reads for me. Please let me know in the comment section down below how you judge a 5-star book, because I'd love to know. I do want to preface this video with the books that I tend to read are very somber and hard-hitting books that deal with themes and events that are difficult. So if you are a sensitive reader and need to be prepared for certain types of events and themes, do look up trigger warnings for these books. And if you have any particular questions on any of these books mentioned, I'm happy to discuss them with you down in the comment section down below. The first book that I gave 5 stars to was The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. This deals with many themes such as displacement, immigration, loss, grief, forbidden love, the devastations of war, and how such trauma causes epigenetic changes. It is about the interconnectedness of nature, how despite all the atrocious and ugly things we do to one another, the beauty of Mother Nature is all around us if we open up our eyes and our minds to it. We follow 3 different perspectives. We follow 16-year-old Ada, who is a very lonely young girl who is trying to come to terms with the death of a loved one. And then we follow her father, who is an evolutionary botanist and ecologist, and he's far more interested in his work and taking care of his fig tree than he is of his own daughter. And then we get the perspective of the fig tree, and it is through this fig tree that we travel back in time to 1974 in Cyprus. And while we're in Cyprus, we follow 2 forbidden love stories, one between a gay older couple who run a tavern, and the other one is the love story of a teenage couple, Daphne and Costas, who are the parents of Ada. And the tavern really serves as a safe haven for the young lovers in particular. And in the tavern, the tavern's been built around this ancient fig tree, and it's this fig tree that witnesses everything that happens in the tavern. Civil war breaks out in Cyprus between the Muslim Turks and the Christian Greeks. This complicates the lives of the lovers because each individual belongs to a different party. If you've never read Elif Shafak before, I recommend beginning with this novel. I think it's her strongest one so far. She is a brilliant and original writer, as well as a human rights activist, brilliant scholar, and eloquent public speaker. She actually has a YouTube channel. If you love linguistics and history, I highly recommend checking out her channel. I'll link it down below for you if you're interested. And it's just a beautiful story. The next book I gave 5 stars to is My Cousin Rachel. Sorry, it's missing its book sleeve. This was my first Maurier novel, and it did not leave me disappointed. Her writing is so marvelous. The way she evoked atmosphere and the way she lusciously describes the most mundane things. She was an excellent writer. This is a psychological thriller and mystery. I went into it completely blind, and I highly recommend you do the same. And do read this with a buddy, because there's so much to discuss from this little book. It was superb. The way that she wrote it. This novel is very fast-paced. There's so many plot twists that I didn't see coming. And the way du Maurier captures human obsession and the turmoil that results from it reminded me of how we sometimes are our own worst enemies. It was brilliant. The next book I gave 5 stars to is These Ghosts Are Family by Maisie. I talk about this book in greater detail in my Cribathon vlog, which I'll link down below. This is a tragic, emotional novel that has just stuck with me, and it's a multi-generational saga that follows 2 Jamaican families and how one man's life-altering decision and deep buried secret not only changes his life but affects the lives of the present generation and influences future generations. I will definitely be reading more of Maisie. The next 5-star read is Reamble by Priya. Hein. I was completely mesmerized by this coming-of-age novella that's set in Mauritius. I learned so much about Mauritian history, politics, art, and culture. We follow a very intelligent but disheartened young girl, Noemi, who lives in the slums of Riambel. And we just see glimpses of her life, and you really get the sense that all she wants to do is go to school and escape. She wants to just swim in the ocean with her friends, forget about all her worries and troubles, and one day leave Mauritius because there's very little opportunity for her there. I saw myself in Noemi, and it made my heart bleed even more for her. And we need to hear more diverse voices in our literature, especially feminist voices, and I will definitely be reading more from Priya as well as by this publisher, Indigo Press. They're an independent publisher based in London, and they publish books to make readers see the world afresh, question their behavior and beliefs, and imagine a better future. Everyone should read this. It was beautiful. The next book I gave 5 stars to is All Among the Barley by Melissa Harrison. This is another evocative book that is a coming-of-age tale set in Suffolk, England in the summer of 1934. We follow Edith, who is a 16-year-old girl who has to leave school to work on her family's farm. It's a very idyllic setting, but don't let that fool you. It deals with some very dark topics, which makes sense because many of the characters have been left scarred by the First World War, and you, us as the reader, know that the Second World War is just right around the corner. So this was, Melissa Harrison's writing is superb. It just, yeah, this is probably one of my most favorite coming-of-age stories. It was so wonderful. The next 5-star read is A Psalm for the Wild-Built by Becky Chambers. This is set in the future where AI have gained sentience, and we follow a tea monk, sibling Dex, who, no matter how far he travels and no matter how many people he meets, He feels as though something is missing from his life. So one day he decides to do something that very few humans have ever come back from, and that is to go into the wild. And it's in the wild that he meets splendid speckled mosscap, who is a robot who has ventured back into human territory because he's curious to know what it is that humans need. And what follows is a journey of self-discovery and unlikely friendship, and sibling Dex ultimately needs to ask himself what it is that he needs. This is a very philosophical, deep book that asks so many existential questions, and is another one that you need to read with a buddy because there's so much you can discuss about it. Another book that I gave 5 stars to is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This greatly surprised me. It just entered my life at the perfect time. I don't think I realized how much of a break I needed from the heavier-handed books that I'd been reading, and this was just pure escapist fun. It's so dreamy. Morgenstern's ability to really make you forget about reality and just immerse yourself in the marvelousness of the book it just impressed me. We follow several different characters who are in some way involved in this mysterious Le Cirque des Rêves, the Circus of Dreams. It's so, it's every aspect of the circus in some way has been designed to cater to every one of your senses. So every sight, taste, smell, sound has been catered to, hi little hummingbird, has been carefully crafted to delight the visitor's senses. And to add to the appeal of the circus, there are 2 competitive forces involved in the storyline, and their influence is far more deeper and far more complicated than what it appears to be on the surface. It was so much fun, and I don't tend to read very hyped books just because it makes me nervous, and I just don't, it makes me nervous because I don't think I will enjoy it. And this one lived up to the hype. It was so great. So those are all my 5-star reads for this year so far. Please let me know what you've read and given 5 stars to. I'd love to hear about them, especially if you've read any of these books. I'd love to hear your thoughts about them too. Thanks so much for spending some of your day with me, and I'll see you all next week. Take good care, everyone. Bye-bye.